They called him El Jefe, the chief, a man who turned a small Caribbean nation into his personal kingdom of fear. For over 30 years, Rafael Trujillo ruled the Dominican Republic with blood-stained hands and an iron will. Among the people, he was mockingly called the Goat. The joke hid a truth. He was relentless, vindictive, and obsessed with control. His nickname became a symbol of a regime built on terror. Trujillo was born in 1891 into poverty and instability. The island's history of occupation and inequality was the soil where his ambition took root. From the start, he learned that survival demanded power. While others dreamt of escape, Rafael dreamt of domination. He studied people like puzzles, searching for their fears. Control, not compassion, became his compass. As a youth, he fell into crime, cattle theft, forged checks, small-time schemes. But these were lessons in leverage. He saw that fear and fraud could bend the world. During the U.S. occupation, he enlisted in the newly formed army. Foreign discipline gave him structure, ambition gave him purpose. The uniform became his pathway to dominance. Trujillo rose fast. He mastered discipline, delighted in punishment, and charmed superiors with ruthless efficiency. Fear was not a tool, it was a language he spoke fluently. He learned the choreography of power, parade ground order, backroom deals, loyalty purchased and coerced. He made himself indispensable to anyone who wanted control. By 1930, he commanded the army. With guns behind him, politics became theater. The nation's fate was already in his hands. When crisis struck, he presented himself as the savior. Order at any cost, he promised, and the cost was staggering. Fear bought stability, and people paid in silence. Elections were a performance. The votes were counted after the guns spoke. Democracy became a mask, worn to legitimize force. His victory was inevitable. He used threats and bribes, breaking rivals and buying allies. Power did not arrive, it was engineered. In 1930, he took the presidency, but he ruled like a monarch. Titles meant little to him. Obedience was everything. With a signature, he crowned himself. From that palace, he shaped the country in his image. Roads and buildings rose, but so did prisons and graves. Progress came chained to fear. The machinery of terror began its work. Opponents vanished into cells where pain was policy. The threat of disappearance kept voices quiet. His secret police were everywhere, listening, grabbing, breaking. Their message was simple: dissent equals death. The island learned to whisper. Homes echoed with absence. Families waited for footsteps that never returned. The fear was intimate. It lived at the dinner table. In 1937, Trujillo ordered a massacre on the Haitian border. Tens of thousands were slaughtered in days. The river carried the story downstream. It became known as the Parsley Massacre. A single word became a death sentence. Language itself turned into a weapon. Those who failed to pronounce perejil were killed where they stood. A test of the tongue decided life and death. The cruelty was precise and personal. He built a cult of personality, omnipresent, omniscient, eternal. The nation learned to bow before his shadow. Adoration was not a feeling, it was a duty. His image watched from every room. Children recited loyalty as if it were prayer. The dictator's face became the country's wallpaper. Even the capital was renamed in his honor. Geography bent to ego. Every address reminded citizens who owned the map. Public loyalty was choreographed. Knees on the ground, eyes up to the idol. Worship was measured in fear, not faith. Even prayers ended with "Long live Trujillo." The sacred was repurposed as propaganda. God and the dictator shared the altar. Abroad, he wore a civilized mask. He purchased goodwill with stability and promises. Diplomacy kept the spotlight off the blood. American business thrived under his order. Profit tolerated cruelty. The island's silence was part of the deal. He charmed, paid, and pressured. Alliances were built like palaces, expensive and imposing. Behind the velvet, there were chains. At home, labor served his fortune. Wages were low, fear was high, and loyalty was enforced. Prosperity was for the palace, not the people. The press became a mirror reflecting only one face. Praise filled columns where truth should stand. Journalism learned to kneel. National celebrations turned into rituals of obedience. Flags waved for a man, not a country. The spectacle masked the terror beneath. Propaganda declared him the sun and moon. He became the calendar and the clock. The future was scripted to carry his name. He looted the treasury with methodical patience. Wealth flowed to the ruler, while debts flowed to the people. Corruption was not a scandal, it was policy. His personal fortune rivaled the state's resources. Opulence stood beside poverty like a throne beside a beggar. Inequality was part of the spectacle. While the ruler feasted, the people scraped by. The regime sold the illusion of progress. The price was paid in hunger and fear. Power creates enemies, and enemies wait. As the years passed, plots simmered, fueled by rage and grief. The night would eventually catch up with him. In 1961, conspirators struck on a lonely road. Bullets tore through the myth of immortality. The dictator met the fate he had given so many others. The ambush ended a reign of fear. The night was quiet, but history was loud. A chapter closed with gunfire and smoke. His cult began to crumble. Statues fell. Names changed. But the memory of terror did not obey the calendar. The nation exhaled. Public rage, long suppressed, finally spoke. Justice was improvised, and it was overdue. Trials and reckoning began, uneven and incomplete. Truth surfaced in fragments, like bones after rain. Healing would take more than verdicts. Some families found closure, many found only silence. The disappeared left echoing rooms. Grief learned to live beside hope. The country tried to rebuild itself, piece by piece. Fear loosened its grip, but scars held tight. Freedom is fragile after a long night. Some remember the roads and buildings he commissioned. Others remember the prisons, the graves, and the silence. Both truths are real, but one cost the other. The border still carries the memory of massacre. Geography holds grief like ink holds words. History stains the land it touches. Records show a regime engineered for fear. Paper remembers what voices could not. The files whisper what people were forced to forget. Memory became a form of resistance. The island learned to honor the lost, to say their names aloud. Remembrance fights erasure. Today, the story is taught with caution and clarity. The lesson is simple and difficult. Tyranny grows when fear becomes normal. Education breaks that spell. Rafael Trujillo entered history as one of the most ruthless rulers of the modern era. The goat became a warning, not a legend. His shadow teaches what power without conscience creates. History's monsters do not vanish, they echo. The Dominican Republic survived him, but the scars remain. Remembering Trujillo is how the island protects its future from his past. Who was the most brutal ruler in your opinion? Share in comments. Subscribe for more darkest chapters of our history.